welcome to the weekly current affairs class. Today we will be dealing with topics from society, security as well as ethics. The first topic that we will be dealing with is with respect to the domestic violence. You must have come across a news where it was stated that despite the presence of laws, with respect to domestic violence, there is still the issues of unreporting of cases pertaining to domestic violence. If we talk about the factual analysis, this may also be helpful with respect to the question that may come with across such type of thing. You may use this data with respect to your introduction. See, the National Family Health Survey 5, it has revealed that violence against women persisted to an extent of 32% of married women in the specific age group of 18 to 49 years of age. Means that in 18 to 49 years of age, the married women basically have experienced 32% women have experienced violence, which includes very important emotional, physical or sexual violence committed by their husband. You must be very thorough with this, that domestic violence does not only pertain to physical violence. It also covers emotional, sexual as well as verbal abuse. So you must be very thorough with these things. Further, as I've already told you, the number would have been still higher if the appropriate cases of reporting would have been done by the victims. This number would have been higher from 32%. So the question that arises with respect to your main means analysis here is that what are the reasons that why victims are not reporting these cases. So that is the main analysis here. What the UPSC may ask with respect to, it may not ask whether there are laws present or not. What it may ask is why, despite the presence of laws, that there is still non-reporting of case. So first of all, the first reason is the patriarchal society. See, violence has been normalized. Violence has been normalized in society due to its patriarchal nature, that men perform such type of things. They are men, they have a behavior, they have an attitude of performing such kind of acts. It is not a big deal. Sometimes a child may basically be used to violence if she has seen her mother basically prone to violence all through her life, and basically not resisting that violence, not reporting that violence. So the child may also get normalized with respect to the violence. So this has been one of the major aspects, specifically if you will talk about in case of this verbal abuse. This abuse has not been resisted in our society because it has been normalized to a very much extent. Second issue is basically obstacles, fear or prejudices. Very important keywords: obstacles, fear or prejudice faced by women while reporting the domestic violence. See, the obstacle, fear basically from whom? From in-laws, that she may be thrown out of the house, from her own parents, that they may cut off all the links with her basically if she is reporting all the cases. From the society, judgment from the society, that these things happen in the household, why to report such cases? These are the issues. And even judgment passed by the police officers, that basically these kind of things happen in society. Instead of reporting the case, they just went on to say that basically go for a negotiation. So this has been the another issue. Another issue is that reporting violence will bring shame and dishonor. See, the major issue here is family name, both of in-laws as well as of parents. that basically society will judge that her child is basically not well comfortable within her household. If I will get a divorce, basically it will bring a shame to me, I will be called as a basically divorcee. That kind of thing will bring a shame upon our family name. So why to make a issue of the things that are happening in our private space? So that is another issue. Next issue is the economic dependency. So, see specifically housewives, okay, even who have got their professional degrees but are not working, they face a major obstacles, because if they report the case, obviously I have already told you, they face the issue of abandonment by their in-laws as well as by their husband. So in that scenario, basically how they will survive in such some scenarios, I have already told you that their own parents, brother as well or sister as well, they refuse to take back the individual. So in that scenarios, the survival becomes critical. So out of economic dependency also, the victims basically do not report the cases. Further, we have also the issue with respect to inheritance. Okay, these laws are not fully well implemented. That is the another also reason basically that is creating the economic dependency. First is, women do not want to add burden on others. Okay, so that basically if we will get dependent, I will move back to my own family, so I will be extra member. Okay, specifically take an example, if a victim is from a lower class family, poor family, if I will get separated, I will have to go and live with my parents who may are also on the brink of survival. Okay, so I will add burden to that family or to my brother's family. That is another issue basically why women absorb this kind of violence. Next is non-helping environment, specifically with respect to women's parents. So that is the another issue as we have already discussed. So in that this slide, what are the basic issues again in nutshell? Basically patriarchal society, obstacles, fear or judgment passed by the society, that is a issue. Then economic dependency is a issue. Shame or dishonor to the family's name, that is the another issue. The burden of basically women on the parents or on the brother's family, that is the issue. Then basically support from her own parents is also one of the biggest or critical issues here. Moving forward to another reasons, see another issue is basically women need to adjust or accommodate to family's needs. That is the another thing that women have to face. Basically if the woman reports to her in-laws, to her friends or to her basically parents or to her brother or to her sister that basically I am facing some kind of issues, what they will need say is basically you need to adjust or accommodate, go for a compromise. Okay, so in that scenarios also basically sometimes victim basically absorb the violence that they face in the family household. Next issue is basically domestic violence is not reported due to lack of witness, because courts work on evidence. Even if you report a case, if you sometimes women fear that if we will not be able to prove it, so basically we will be further exposed to more violence. So that is the another issue. Then uncertainty of a relation for the women if they have reported instances of domestic violence. Okay, sometimes basically so for example police officers sometimes do not basically consider the case of emotional or psychological abuse. Okay, they can say that basically if because you are not physically assaulted, we cannot do anything about it. So that is another issue. Then you have a problem of lack of access to free legal aid. Link it with the issue of economic dependency. Okay, your case is in court, obviously you will need a lawyer. Okay, and you are already dependent upon your in-laws or upon your husband, so they will not be bearing the fees obviously. So our government scenario of providing pro bono services, free illegal aid to such type of victims basically is almost non-existent and ineffective. So that also compounds the problems. Then lack of financial support to take up the court cases, we have already linked this with. Then basically next is police rarely report domestic violence cases. Many instances sent back women for reconciliation. I have already told you many a times basically police officers, if they are specifically known or to the perpetrator, okay, or to the basically, or to the victim, or to the families, or to the in-laws, what happens in most of the scenarios is they try to bring a reconciliation rather than providing justice, to the victim. Okay, so that is another issue. Then most important one again is lack of protection officers under Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act in the states. So that is a basically provision that is there in this act basically, but these protection officers are non-existent in states at the district level or at the state level, due to which these crimes are further perpetuated. So what are the points that are listed here? That compromising situation, okay, lack of evidence, lack of a relation with respect to abuse, then free legal aid is not there, then financial dependency with respect to fight the cases, then police officers focusing upon reconciliation rather than justice, and last is the lack of protection officers basically. So these are the issues. Moving forward, we also need to know what are the laws basically that are there to protect the victims. First of all is the Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act 2005. The major thing that you need to understand here is, even if you have to provide this example in your way forward or in your measures, you need to understand that it covers physical, sexual, verbal, emotional and economic abuse by the husband. So you need to understand this. It does not only cover the physical abuse, it covers sexual, verbal, emotional and economic abuse. Then there is section 498A, which also talks about that husband or the relative of the husband of a woman subject such woman to cruelty shall be punished with imprisonment of a term which may extend to 3 years and shall also be liable to fine. Okay, for section 498A, that basically husband or the relatives of the husband who are perpetuating crimes against the woman, basically they shall be liable to punishment. So these things can be listed in your way forward or in your measures. So this was our first topic that was there. Moving forward, you also came across basically some army exercises that are happening, which may be important with respect to your prelims exams that are happening. So first of all, you must have witnessed the Yuddh Abhyas exercise that is happening between, it is a bilateral military exercise between India and US. You must have seen in the newspapers that China has opposed this exercise happening in Uttarakhand basically. Okay, next is the basically Austra-Hind exercise that is obviously focus upon the name here, that is between India and Australia. Next one you have Agni Warrior exercise, basically that is between Singapore and India. Agni Warrior between Singapore and India, bilateral exercise. Then Harimau Shakti. Okay, Harimau, basically there's some use, you may understand this MAU here, basically it stands for Malaysian Army, basically it is between the Indian Army and the Malaysia. Next you need to understand is the Garuda Shakti. It is between India and Indonesia. Again important for your prelims exam and a very easy one, understandable from the name only, Kaz, and obviously between Kazakhstan and India. So in nutshell again, Yuddh Abhyas between India and US. Austra, basically understandable from the name India and Australia. Agni Warrior between Singapore and India, you need to learn this. Harimau Shakti, you can basically remember somehow that MAU here represents Malaysia, so it is between Malaysia and India. Garuda Shakti, again you need to learn that it is between India and Indonesia. Kaz in this basically understandable from name, that is India and Kazakhstan. So this is important for your prelims exams. Moving forward with respect to ethics case study, you must have seen this with the respect to the article that came in the Indian Express, okay, the prevention strategy for suicide. See, the article stated about that India, it specifically, first of all, it specifically focused upon the age group, okay, and created a very critical and worrying situation that the India is passing through. It stated that India is one of the world's highest suicide rate for the youth aged between 15 to 29, a very young age. Obviously you can say the future citizens of the country who will be contributing most to the economy, okay. and many surveys have pointed out the rising rates in India owing to, within this age group, owing to social, economic and psychological reasons. Many surveys, some have reported the sociological reasons behind this, some have reported the economic uncertainty behind this, some have reported to the mental stress or anxiety that the individuals face in today's society because of competition and all that scenario. Okay, so it brings out some very specific issues, okay, that why suicide rates are high, especially among the youth. As I have told you, 15 to 29 years of age, it specifically focuses upon age group. It intends to find out that why the individuals in these groups are basically doing more suicides. Then it wants to find out that why suicide rates are high even in some developed states, it means economically prosperous states. Obviously, some studies have pointed out that economic uncertainty is a reason, but the states which are economically prosperous, they have less economic certainty, they have more job and employment opportunities. So why the suicides in that states? Next, what are the steps that can be taken to stop the youth from taking such extreme steps? So first of all, we will be listing, as in the same chronological order, what are the reasons for such high suicide rates. See, the first reason that have been listed is obviously the majority of the people, you can say that they are individuals who are school going, college going, okay, graduates, post graduates, and whose career has just started, okay, or who are in basically search of job. This is the age group of 15 to 29 years of age. So what are the reasons here? The reasons are high aspirations and expectations. First of all, like high marks or high rank in competitive exams. If somebody has completed his or her degree, is in a career phase, a quick success in business. For example, you are preparing for UPSC, there is a competition and stress on you to score the high marks in your optional, in your GS paper, in your essay paper, what type of rank you will be getting. So that creates a kind of psychological stress. Okay, if somebody has started just as what we say startup business, he has a or she has a basically stress to get a quick success in a business. That is the issue. Then low compromising attitude. Basically, anybody does not want to go through the phase of failure. Everybody wants only success. Even a minor setback can create stress. So that is another issue. Then there is a peer pressure. Obviously, friends, cousins who have achieved something in academic or in their business, okay, somebody has cleared some paper, IIT paper, somebody has cleared UPSC paper, somebody is doing very well in his or her career, that creates a peer pressure that I am left behind. So that also creates a kind of psychological stress upon the individual. Then the major problem is the low emotional intelligence. First of all, our youth, because we does not include ethics as a part of our school or college syllabus, so many of the individuals does not know what emotional intelligence is. They do not know how to deal with kind of situation of stress. Okay, the low intelligence to realize that one incident in life is not the end, and they need to keep patience and perseverance, that if they will keep on fighting, if they will keep on doing their hard work, they will at the end succeed. Okay, so that is a major issue basically here, the lack of ability to understand, to gauge their actions, to basically identify the situation, basically that is the major issue here. Then absence of joint family. Obviously, we know that basically today nuclear family is on the rise. So what is happening with that? Basically, individuals who are left at you, basically the individuals who used to perform the role of socialization, specifically grandparents, okay, they are not behind. So some kind of family support is missing in the area of emotional stress when the individual is not doing well in his or her studies, he or she is not getting desired goals achieved in his or her business, they are not performing well in their career, some emotional in crisis, you need motivation, you need a pat on your back, that kind of thing is missing. So what are the reasons here? High aspirations, peer pressure, okay, refusal to basically acknowledge is a failure in society, okay, and then there are lack of emotional intelligence to deal with the critical situation, and lack of family support basically because of declining joint family trends. Moving forward, what are the other basically issues? Stress due to urban lifestyle. See, this is one of the major reason. Urban lifestyle, it also leads to mental suffering. So that is another issue that is prevailing there. Urban society is all about very hustle bustle, okay, very basically chaos, very fast moving life, you need to catch up every day, that kind creates a kind of stress. Then incidents like failed marriage affect one professionally as well. Sometimes individual is not doing well in his or her personal life, so that takes a toll on professional life. So that is another kind of issue basically that is taking place. Then absence of joint family we have already done. Then you have agriculture distress, okay, economic reason specifically that is prevailing is present in developed states as well. Maharashtra has the highest number of farmers out. We discussed that why the basically economically prosperous states are witnessing high rate of suicides. So one of the major reason is the agricultural distress prevailing in the states where the youth does not find the avenues for employment or job opportunities, they have to revert back to agriculture, and agriculture is also facing some kind of stagnation of production, basically not increasing the farmers income, so that also creates some kind of extra or added pressure. Then lack of most important counseling centers, we do not have that kind of scenario or infrastructure prevalent that where individual is suffering from some kind of stress or some kind of anxiety or some kind of depression, that he or she can avail the psychological counseling that is prevalent to deal the emotional stress, to deal with the critical situations. So that kind of things also create the or compound the problem. Next is aspiration of the people are very high. Any failure in education or business is perceived as a huge embarrassment. Specifically you can relate with this your society, and you can also state that family is also at fault in these kind of scenarios, because sometimes when the individual is not performing well, there is an added pressure from the family that see it is bringing dishonor or shame to our family that you are not doing something, okay, you are not performing well. So that creates an added pressure or the psychological pressure on the individual. Sometimes society also judges the individual that he or she is a failure, okay, does not acknowledge the struggle that the individual is going through. So that can also lead to the reasons for suicide. So what are the points here? Urban lifestyle, okay, creating mental pressure, personal setbacks in life, then basically the decline of the agriculture specifically in the developed states, lack of the psychologically counseling centers, and last one basically the judgment by the family as well as the society when one is not performing well in the academics or in the business. So how we need to deal with this kind of situation? First of all, we need to develop the emotional intelligence to deal with the situation of emotional stress. The individual should be able to deal with the situation of crisis, whether it is emotional, whether it is economic, whether it is a psychological crisis. Emotional intelligence can help you deal with that kind of things through studies, through reorientation of syllabus, through psychological centers. This kind of things should be developed in the individual, specifically among the youth. Then we also need to inculcate values of perseverance, tolerance, courage along with ambition and aspiration. And that how these things can be inculcated? Obviously through we need to include it in schools, we need to include these things in colleges, okay, we need to present the case studies so these kind of values can be inculcated among the youth. Then we need to create some infrastructure, as we already discussed. We need to establish some counseling centers that should be opened in every district so that individual who is going through the emotional crisis can avail the services from the centers. Then and last is youth must be taught to find success in little things. Okay, they should be taught that a minor setback is not going to end your life. If you will be going through the perseverance, if you will be having tolerance, if you are having the courage to fight back, basically you will achieve something in life. Life is not all about having the smooth and comfortable areas, but it is also about setbacks. So this is all we need to do to deal with this kind of situation. So the issues that we discussed were with respect to security, whether that is helpful for your prelims, with respect to domestic violence, that is again with respect to mains perspective, and ethics case study, because India's first, this is important because India's first suicide prevention policy has been out. Okay, so study that in detail also, so it may be asked. Then you will also be provided a question with respect to your mains perspective. Their link will be provided in the description. So the video with respect to seize the mains will also be uploaded accordingly. So thank you, all the best. So we will meet again next week.